And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another SANFL snapshot. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the first premiership has been handed out. It has been won. We have the first person holding a championship after their season when it comes to the SANFL W year. So, to join me to not only review that, but a few rounds from the men's competition, my lovely co-host who I love talking to. We'll start off Woodville West Torrance super fan and great individual, keeping a smile on his face despite how some of the things went. Mr. Dar Seven Stars, great to see you, sir.
Coach Johnny, how you going? How you going, Phil? Good to be back again. And yes, a lot to talk about with the women's team. I'm still together, and I've checked the Powerade a couple of times just to make sure it wasn't the Powerade. But hey, it's all good. So we'll a lot to talk about then.
And caller extraordinaire. I know we were gonna have to make this episode a little bit quicker because he got called up to the majors to call an under 18s Queensland game, Queensland versus SA game. Mr. Phil Aspinall. Phil, great to see you, sir.
G'day, Coach. G'day, Das. Going well. And yeah, always love talking about SANFL. And as you said, we've got a premiere, and we'll talk about that with the women's shortly.
Cannot
And
wait
well
for
done, Phil, with the calling. That's a big big tick to the name. So well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
State
awesome,
game.
awesome. Well, just keeping track of what I've always known, one of the best callers in the country for sure. And I like
Absolutely.
having some of the best to help me review the
There
footy.
was a
So
vote, Don. I hope you voted for him too. There's a vote for the best caller.
Saw that
I'm gonna need the
Facebook
voting. I'm
poll.
gonna need the voting form. You may need to send it to me. Not sure. I'm not sure what the international voting rules are. So we'll go off that. So all right, we'll hop on to it, fellas. Okay, so the entire women's final has come and is gone, as we said. A premier has been named, and we've had 3 rounds of the men's with 13 rounds, 13 through 15 gone through. Phil, your thoughts on the footy, because I know a majority of this is going to be reviewing what was a scintillating finals in the women's competition.
Yeah, it was sensational, wasn't it? We had some amazing games, but even the lead into the final series, we had the Eagles and the Panthers facing off a couple of times, and some quality football. And yeah, look, probably the best team for the season won in the end. The Eagles were a fantastic set team, and certainly had improvement beyond what I think most of the people in the sample circles would have expected. But testament to Narelle and the team and what they were able to do. Obviously, ably led by their footy manager there as well, Darcy, now on our show. And look, it went to another level for mine because we saw some quality games. We saw Sturt step up in the final against North Adelaide, who were disappointing, but all in all, it was a great finish to the season.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Darce, I know you had a front row seat to all through to 3 women's finals. The only one you didn't get to see was North Adelaide Sturt. How good was the footy, and how excited were to see your beloved Woodville West Torrens get to a grand final in their first ever final season?
Look, I cannot be any prouder of the girls. I think I could just concur with what Phil said. It's a fantastic final series. The best two teams of the year finished up in the grand final. I cannot be any prouder of the girls. I think they finished seventh last year. I think they've since we joined the competition, I don't think they've only gone further than six. I think they finished bottom, seventh, and then to make the grand final in one year from seventh to top, I think Narelle and the girls, the coaching staff, they've just done an absolute brilliant job. I can't be any prouder than what they achieved this year.
Yeah. And then I want to say this, and I know the broadcast, the 7 broadcast is just, I'm just so stoked for the progress of SA footy because both of the two teams have made the finals. I can't tell you how many times they talked about how many teenagers were
Mm.
playing in this grand final
Yep.
and some ripping teenagers, including one that had herself a day in the grand final. It was fantastic. Cannot wait. This competition is in great young hands, and I cannot wait to see its progression over the next few years because it's only going to get chef's kiss better. So let's jump
Donnie,
right.
with these kids, teenagers, and they get to 23, 24, it's just going to be an outstanding competition. It's just going
The
to be amazing. I'm looking
the
forward to it.
the AFLW and the SA clubs
Mm.
are looking into some fantastic talent, and I cannot wait. So let's jump right into it, fellas. We're gonna do the men's first because the women's have finals just a little bit more important. Not saying that the men aren't important, ladies and gentlemen, but the women's are talking about finals just a littlest bit more stakes when it comes to it. So we jump back to we have 3 rounds to cover, rounds 13, 14 and 15 to talk about in the men's competition. We will start off. Ex-Convenience Oval sees the Central District's Bulldogs knock off Norwood 84-65. Glenelg with an impressive win over the Adelaide Crows 111-83. The Bloods of WA get the win over the Woodville West Torrance Eagles 69-56. Sturt continuing a magnificent season with a 143-69 win over Port Adelaide, and South Adelaide Panthers with a nice win over the North Adelaide Roosters 107-77. Darce, will start with you, sir. I know as the Woodville West Torrance man that you are, kind of disappointing to drop one to the Bloods.
Oh, look, this is hard. This is actually shattering. This one, it's like the Bloods. I think they won one game for that time. This may be the first. No, this was their first win. Sorry, I do apologise, and it was shattering stuff. So, look, you can say, yeah, we have been smashed with injuries, and we've got a lot of the young kids coming through. So we've just been a bit depleted. But to lose to a bottom side, it's still, very, very shattering news. But the Red Leagues to Central Districts, the Red Leagues are coming good now. You will see in the next few weeks how they're really starting to put their strides in. This game was probably a little bit off for them, but I think we've seen Norwood. They'll be the big winners from the next season to come, actually. So, but look, Glenelg, Sturt, look, you can't take anywhere from these two. The top two tables, absolutely brilliant, big wins. Crows, they're no easy beats either. The big winners there, and obviously Sturt over Port, massive winners again. So look, and then Panthers. Gee whiz, what's happening there as well, guys? It's are they starting to make a run? They probably won't make the finals, but they're starting to just improve in the last half of the year.
Absolutely love seeing that with the young Panthers side. But I'm gonna go to you, Phil. Again, start continuing with what we'll look at is an undefeated season so far, and a really good strong matchup towards the top of the table with Glenelg knocking off the Crows.
Yeah, look, that was a fantastic game, probably the game of the round, and I think Adelaide had some depth tested. They had some injuries at the next level, and the Glenelg Footy Club showed that they're going to be around the mark, but they showed that they can share their goal kicking as well. Hosey and McBean kicked another seven between them, and they've got some real depth there at Glenelg. And I think what we probably also saw was perhaps an over reliance from the Crows on the Chris Burgess and Kieran Strawn types up in their forward line. If their smaller midfielders aren't kicking goals and attributing to the scoreboard, then they don't necessarily always have the firepower to win. So a good win for the doggies. Das touched on it. They were challenged by Nord. I know Jade Sheeter was disappointed with that showing. And then yeah, the Double Blues continued to just pull apart opposition sides and were absolutely dominant over Port Adelaide.
Absolutely, for sure. Let's jump to round 14. Unfortunately, the round starts off with a heavy, heavy loss for Woodville West Torrens as Norwood puts the whooping on them 158-27. Sturt continue again at their undefeated season so far with a 116 to 65 win over the Central District's Bulldogs. Glenelg have another one as they knock off South Adelaide 109-95. Adelaide bounce back from their loss to get a nice impressive win over West Adelaide 140-79, and Port Adelaide knock off the Roosters 168. Phil, to you, sir. Unfortunately, really, SA with a challenge to Glenelg, but the rest of the competition, the better teams were the ones that won.
Yeah, and amazingly, just looking down the scoreline, all victors registered triple figures. So every
Yeah,
team that won
exactly.
had 100 plus on their score,
Yeah.
and certainly makes for high free flowing footy. If you're in the Eagles camp, it wasn't so free flowing for them in terms of being on the opposite end of what was a massive message. I think that was a massive message, probably the highlight of the
Mm.
round in terms of like Das alluded to before. The Redlegs started marching on, didn't they? They really
Yeah.
got their game going. We know the Eagles are decimated. I heard that they had 25 to 26 first class players that were either in the league
Mm.
or reserve squad that were unavailable that week. So, that really tested the depth. We know Sources blooded some kids. But for mine, I've said it a few times and I don't like singling them out, but there's ever a team in this competition that knows how to lose a game from a winning position. The Panthers were on track for the upset of the year, and then I think they conceded the last six goals of the final
Yeah.
term. And
Jeez.
somehow good sides win ugly, don't they? We say that, and good
Mm-hmm.
sides find a way, and Glenelg found a way against an improving South side.
Darsh, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think you concur again, but this was an extraordinary round. As I said, these are massive margins. Look at Nord big margin, Sturt massive margin. The Crows and then Port. It was if you added up all the points, it would have been, I don't know whether it's the biggest winning margins for the against losing sides ever. But gee whiz, it was extraordinary round. But look, earth shattering for the Eagles. That was I was there that day. It was not a good day, and of course. But as you can use that. There's so many kids in the league side. You just see the bit smaller than the big Nord are huge. They're big. They're strong,
Yeah.
and they just did everything they could to really get the kids just couldn't do anything about it. Like they were always from behind and just couldn't chase as much. But hey, it's given these kids experience, and that could be something in a few years' time for the Eagles. You just never know, hopefully. But look, Sturt, mate, you can't take anything away from them. The Panthers, they. I think alluded to Phil. You said that they nearly had the upset of the day, and the big win they had the week before. So they could be on the mark. They won't make the finals, but hey, they're going to show you something for next year. This is probably the start they could do that. And again, the Crows and Port Power. Port Power's probably a little bit of an upset by that margin, I think, to the Roosters. But all in all, good win by Port.
Definitely for sure. And then the last game on the men's side again, a short, sweet one because we had to talk the women's finals, and that is round 15 had one game, and that was the showdown light as Adelaide take on Port Adelaide and the Crows with a win over Port Adelaide 94-79. Not as impressive as the AFL one, but I'll say this, Phil, right off the bat, Adelaide, this could have been much worse if they could have kicked straight.
Yeah, the weather wasn't great for them, and a couple of players in particular, Nankervis and Gallagher, kicked seven behinds between them to go with their one goal. 12-22, what's that?
Hmm.
34 scoring shots to
Yeah,
19. So
Yep.
a percentage boost win for Adelaide, and probably one of the shining lights for Port Adelaide was young Dylan Williams. Perhaps might have saved himself an AFL career. He's one of those players on the cusp of getting delisted. A fortnight ago, kicked seven and then kicked six in this game. Has been predominantly playing as a defender, so went forward and did some damage up in attack. But I like you dub it the showdown light, and it was a comfortable win in the end for Adelaide.
Yep, definitely. Darcy, your thoughts on the showdown light?
yeah. Look, Phil said 22 points exactly. That's just poor kicking, but hey, you still get the win. And so you mentioned before, Phil, that the full forward guy for the Crows, he should be on the verge of probably playing the AFL, considering you think you mentioned before. No,
Chris
I can't
Burgess
remember.
kicked another
Chris
three goals in this
Burgess.
game. Yeah,
He's kicking a bag of goals, but obviously it's very hard to get into the Crow side at the moment. That's probably the issue for the poor guy. He
yep.
was playing up there in Queensland and got delisted there, but Adelaide picked him up and he's played a few games, but he's playing some damn good footy and just kicking a lot of goals. But mate, the way the Crows are going at the moment, it's pretty hard to get yourself inside.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's the heir apparent to Taylor Walker, and of course, while Tex
Yeah,
is still running around doing what he's doing, he's holding out Chris Burgess. And if you're
Yeah.
Burgess, you'd think that your future is pretty good in terms of Taylor, but is likely to retire next year, particularly
yeah.
if the Crows do end up going out on a flag. But he's too good for SANFL. He's too good for State League. He won two Frosty Miller medals, which is
He
the
did.
equivalent of
Exactly.
10
That's what I
Farmer
thought. Gee
medal.
whiz, yeah.
Yeah, and he kicked
He was
something like 140 goals over the last two seasons in the Queensland League. So,
yeah. He's in the
quality
brink, but he's
player,
just yeah,
quality young man from West Adelaide.
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see. Like I say, Adelaide looks prim and proper for an
Yeah.
AFL run. It'll be fascinating to see.
Mm.
And this is only knowing that you have that backup behind Taylor Walker to come in, and they're already dangerous with the three-headed monster up top. So 100% with you. So let's go to it. The coup d'etat, the cherry on top of this particular episode, and that is the women's finals. Okay. We have four games to go through, and all of them are scintillating. Let's start off. I want to go to the second game of the two because I want to save the first one for last. Because not only was it scintillating and fantastic, but it's a goal nearly after the siren, so we got to talk about it last. So we'll start off in the elimination part of the finals. We saw Sturt beat the Roosters 32-8 in an impressive win again. Sturt, the Double Blues, playing fantastic. I can't remember, fellas, who's the one that tipped this one?
I can't remember. Can you feel? I can't seriously.
Well, let's give the man the kudos he deserves. But what's interesting, I commentated this game and I always make the effort to go out onto the ground and talk to the two respective coaches beforehand, just get any last minute changes and chat about their thoughts. And Darcy talked about, and we talked about this off air, but you talk about seeing sometimes the preparation of a side in terms of how they're approaching their pre-game. And I saw two contrasting preparations, and the result that showed the way for North Adelaide really was probably a reflection of I won't say the casualness, but certainly from the opposition point of view, Sturt were very focused. They all stood in a ring and had a chat pre-game. They were doing some specific pre-game drills, whereas North Adelaide perhaps just looked a little bit less intense. And it's a finals game. We know we've got to lift your intensity for finals, and Michael O'Connor's girls got the result there quite comfortably. And disappointingly, North Adelaide, were knocked out.
Mhm. Big
Yeah.
margin too. Big margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sturt was
Yeah,
just too good. Sturt was just too good in
absolutely.
this game, and again, it was a fascinating game of footy. Again, Sturt just too good. But I mean, the game everybody's going to talk about, and that is the Woodville West Torrents get a win over South Adelaide to put themselves into a grand final by 1 point as a 30-29 win for the Woodville West Torrance Eagles. Claudia O'Neill buries a goal with only seconds left in a game that honestly I was terrified for most of it because I was sitting here going, South Adelaide was just doing just enough to stay ahead. They were
Mm.
doing just enough to stay ahead. This was a fantastic game of football. I truly, truly enjoyed this game of footy. It was so much fun to watch. Both teams had a crack. They got after it, and the Eagles did just enough to get the win and propel themselves into their first ever grand final. Darcy, you were there. How up and about were you when Claudia slotted that goal with only seconds to spare?
Donny, there's a reason why there's a heart defibrillator on the bench. I think with it exactly for these sort of games. I tell you, mate, it was like I look. I'm not. Wasn't going to tell Narelle. I don't. If Narelle watches this, I wasn't. But
She
they were
does.
South were kicking into the wind. We were into the wind. I thought, okay, they've won. Okay, there's about a minute to go or 2 minutes to go. I said, look, that's good. We play whoever Sturt North in the week after, and then but they just gave it every little bit they could that last minute, and they got it down. And as you said, Claudia O'Neill took a great mark, and she was still a long way out. I think she was probably about
Mm,
40 out on a into the wind, and she's absolutely nailed it. And fair income, that's it. Just that's when it erupted. It was like we all erupted
Mhm.
on the bench and said. But then there was still a minute to go. So with hang on, guys.
Yep.
It was like the runner went out and said they all knew that. They said, "Yeah, let's get out there." And then I think it was a minute and a half maybe. I think there was still a bit to go. But
Mhm.
mate, O'Neill, that was just amazing goal. 40 out, she slotted it into the wind, and to put us in the very first grand final. And yeah, then there we are. It was just an amazing. That was we're talking about probably the best games you've seen in the women's. That would have to be by far the best game I've ever seen.
That was
Seriously,
one of
not just because that last kick. It was the whole game was intense.
Agree. I 100% feel your
Yeah.
thoughts on it when it was a scintillating quarterfinal.
Yeah, look, I got there at quarter time. I had a movie date with my son. We went and watched the Smurfs that morning and listened to the call on the way down and got there for quarter time and concur completely with Darcy's thoughts. Intensity wise, we talk about finals going up another level, but that was as intense a game as I can remember seeing in the women's. And
Yeah.
I've seen
Hmm.
most of all of their games from season one. So the quality of the contest when Emily Brockhurst kicked, I think, a goal at about the 11-minute mark.
Yep.
There wasn't another goal kicked until Claudia's at the 18
Correct.
minute.
Yeah.
And so
I
that
thought it
was
was all over.
7 minutes
Yeah.
of just
100%.
brutal back and forth,
Hmm.
tough stoppage after stoppage footy. O'Neill takes the mark, and even into the wind, I know she's such a quality exponent of the drop punt, and I was confident that she would have made the distance. It was just a matter of accuracy. And guys, I was half expecting the mayor of West Torrance to come out and give her the keys to the city because it was an amazing goal. And with what only a minute or so after the goal
Yeah.
was kicked, the
Hmm.
siren goes, and fittingly, the Eagles got up in a classic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Greatest
so
game.
good.
Yeah.
When Claudia marked it, I knew it was into the wind, so I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I sat there and went, if there's anybody right now on the Woodville West Torn side that they want the ball in her hands, it was her. And when
Yeah.
it went through, you could see the elation, and in the back of my head, I looked down the clock on, crap, there's still a minute left. Like I was like, and you can tell that they celebrated enough,
Yeah.
and then there was kind of that little click. Like I don't know if it was the leadership of the group or what, but like you could tell they all went, oh yeah, we got to
Yeah.
finish this, and they all got back and played great. They played fantastic defense to make sure South Adelaide didn't get a sniff at the end. Just an absolute classic,
Now I found
incredible.
myself, guys, glancing over to Narelle's coach's box. The commentary box is maybe 30 meters on the opposite side.
Mm.
And Narelle and Das would know this, pretty stone faced. But when that siren went, I looked over and I don't think I've seen Narelle so happy. She was jumping up and down in the coach's box with her assistants. And I think she really felt like that was, it was finally some reward for effort. And
Yeah.
a long
Absolutely,
haul,
it
Yeah.
was
they've lost a lot
100%.
of games. They've been the battlers for a little while. And she really started to reap the benefits of the work she's put in.
Yep, 100%. So we'll move to the preliminary final the next week, and South Adelaide put this to bed at quarter time.
Mm.
Like this was never. I love Sturt to death. They've been a scrappy side all season. This was over at quarter time. Like this was
Mm.
never a game.
Mm.
South Adelaide with the win, 48-3. This was never really a game again. This is no disrespect to Sturt at all, but the Panthers were on a mission to get back to playing Woodville West Torrens, and they played like it. I mean, Phil, I watched the first quarter and was like, ding, check, it's over.
Yeah, and I think, South Adelaide, of all the teams in the SANFL, and no doubt their men's side could probably take a leaf out of the book. The
Mhm.
fortress is really down there at South Adelaide. You go down and play the girls at Noarlunga. They're used to the conditions. They know how to play
Yeah.
the oval. But
Mhm.
but you're right. The game was over at quarter time. Basically,
Yep.
you could see South had the Double Blues in control. And sadly, I suppose two things to come out of it that were disappointing. The ACL or season-ending injury to
Yep.
Shay Archbold. She'd kicked 3 goals. Unfortunately, she goes on to miss out on the premiership, but Sturt recording the lowest score in SANFL finals history. Just the three behinds was pretty disappointing. And in the end, that ends up being the last game for Michael O'Connor. They've mutually agreed to part ways. And so Sturt's women's side will now have a new coach in season 2026.
Yep. Darcy, your thoughts on this? Because you had to go, uh-oh, we get him again
Yeah, I think it was like out of the last 4 weeks, we played them 3 times.
three
That's how it
times. Yep.
worked out. It was 4 weeks. So I thought Sturt may have put up a bit more of a fight because they finished fifth, beat North convincingly to play off in the third, no, fourth they finished, sorry, to play off in third,
Mhm.
and they beat North convincingly. I thought, gee whiz, they could come from fourth and play off in the grand final if they play like they did against North Adelaide. But obviously, something went amiss, or South just showed their might and said, "No, we're going to play in the grand final. We're going to do it within the first quarter, and we'll end this pretty quick, short and sharp, and all over. And we're in the finals, guys, and all over."
Yeah, first 10 minutes, as soon as they took a 3 goal lead, I was like, it's over. Like
Yeah,
I just could not. I love Sturt to death against Scrappy side. I just did not see them against a South Adelaide team that you could tell they were motivated
yeah,
to get back to the
100%.
grand final again and to face Woodville West Torrens, who they had lost to the two previous times. It was evident in that first 10 minutes. And again, Sturt, they tried, they did everything they possibly
Yeah,
could, but that was just such a good South Adelaide team. You knew you kind of wanted it too. You kind of wanted the grand final to be the two best teams because they had given us such great games.
mhm,
Yep.
Unfortunately, the grand final didn't turn out to the game that I think most expected, as South Adelaide get their revenge in the grand final with a 41 to 18 final margin. But I will say this. I will say this on Woodville West Torrens defense. This is a talented young side that I think they got the education that they really needed because this is a South Adelaide team, as they kept saying on the broadcast. I listened to seven. They've been to so many grand finals. They've been
yeah,
in every finals pretty much every year that the competition has been there. Rick Watts has a machine at South Adelaide. They finally ran into the experience versus the youth and talent. I know Norel is so classy. She'll never make excuses, but this is one of those you could tell this was a young Woodville West Torrens side. The pressure got to them. I will also say the field conditions didn't help. I'm not making an excuse for Woodville's Torrens because there were several players that played below par. Claudia O'Neill, unfortunately, has two clanger shots on goal, unfortunately, that skewed right. Both went for behinds. Normally, she slots them. I 100% will say that. South Adelaide did what they needed to do. Their defense was incredible. I know,
yeah,
I know the standing captain was on defense, had several intercept marks that just it seemed like every time Woodville S. Torrens had a chance to go inside 50, a South Adelaide defender intercepted and it came right back out. So I will plaudits to Rick Watts and the South Adelaide Panthers on a premiership. Woodville West Torrens, an incredible season, but the Panthers, they showed why they're the measuring stick of the SANFL W. Phil, your thoughts on this? Because I don't think I'm jumping off. The Eagles got exposed a little bit purely on they're young. This is a young, talented team.
Yeah, and I'm sure Das will elaborate a little bit more because he had that insight on the day. But just watching the game in general, you could just see that I think some of the Eagles girls were a little bit overawed by the occasion. It was a big occasion to make finals, and then you've gone through to the grand final. You won. It's almost like they played their grand final the week before and got through. And
Yep.
full credit, you can't take nothing away from Rick Watson, the program down there.
Yep.
He's a wonderful operator, but he's got a great facility. He's got a great team around him. John O'Parker, the footy manager down there, gives him everything he wants. And I had great insight from Rick's dad, Graham, during the week. He messaged me saying that he was really pleased for Rick, and I put some nice comments in regards to Rick on social media, and his dad Graham reached out and said the guy is just a genius at coaching the women, and talked about the success he's had at other levels. So yeah, kudos to the Panthers. Obviously, a great season that the Eagles girls can hang their hat high on in terms
Mhm.
of getting there. And like you said, and I'm sure Das will elaborate on, they'll learn from that. This,
Yep.
you might know this, Donny, but for Das, this has a bit of a Centrals in 1995 for me. I'm a Central supporter. I'm a young man. We make our first grand final in 1995. We were just happy to be there. And you think if you win,
Yep.
you win. And then we come up against the then South Adelaide women's team at the time, the mighty Port Adelaide Magpies. And they showed us that making a grand
Yeah.
final
Yep.
is not that's the game over's there. You make the grand final, you got to perform on the day. And
Yep.
sadly for the Eagles, they didn't. But again, full credit to the Panthers and Rick Watts' girls. 4 premierships in 6 years, an amazing
Yeah.
effort.
Yep,
Outstanding. Yeah.
definitely for
Exactly.
sure. Darcy,
Yeah.
your thoughts? I know because you had some insight, and again, this is a young team. This is a young team. They're gonna learn. They're really gonna learn. You never like losing to learn something, but sometimes it can be the greatest learning tool that you will ever experience.
Look, John, I think that was on Saturday. I think Phil hit the nail on the head too. That we've been not we've finished bottom, second bottom for ever since we joined the competition. Now we're in the grand final. All of a sudden that we're in front of, I think there's about 3,000 people there. It's a different it's a
Mm.
different world now. The girls 16, 17 are not used to the 3,000, not used to this. But whether you don't know whether that was it, it was just nothing quite went right in the day. They
Hmm.
gave it their all, and
I
I could
agree.
see they gave it their all. It just a few things didn't go our way, and I think just Panthers, if a mistake was made, they were onto it. They'd taken the marks and they were just doing the things that probably that one it was only 1 or 2% because I think Eagles girls did well. They played well, but the Panthers played that just exceptionally well a little bit more. If that's I'm hoping making sense here, but it was a great game. Yeah, it does look like from what the score was, but it's still a great game of footy to watch. And I think you see the young girls, thriving. That's what I call
Hmm.
for a grand final. I think that's what we take away from that. Yes, we lost, but I think thriving the girls did to play in a grand final. These girls can say that we played in a grand final with 17, 16-year-old kids, and this is going to be our future now. Now, I want to give a big kudos shout out to Rick Watts as well. I don't know if
Mm.
you heard his speech afterwards. He was an absolute amazing. It was just an amazing speech where he said all class and the way he
Very
said the
humble,
Eagles, mate. You've got
Hmm.
sorry,
very humble.
Yep.
humble, but the way he thanked the Eagles that this is the start of your career. I think what I've seen, what you've done this year is, mate, it was an amazing speech. So well done to Rick. I think that's why he's such a good coach as well. So not just not that side of the other side as well, but well done. The Eagles gave it everything, and look, we can only just walk away and say, mate, we were there, we played in it. That's our experience, and now, girls, this is going to be our future from now on.
Yep. And I think, and again, it's one of those, you got such youngsters, got a good shot next year's. Now they can play off that fire, off that passion that you
100%. Yeah,
hate. As everybody says, when you lose a championship game, it stays with you. No matter how much you want to get rid of it, it stays with you. And having such a young group to still come back, man, if I'm Narelle Smith, you almost tip yourself and go, okay, this is a perfect motivation to come in next year. You've got a lot of your team coming back. I know that you had Lucy ended out going with the Crows. She ended up coming back and playing. So
yeah.
happy for her. Just because the season is over, I want to say this. How many great opportunities we're seeing for SA girls now in AFLW. I cannot
Oh,
wait.
amazing.
Plus, as we
Yeah,
said, so many young teenagers still in this competition that I think AFLW Guernseys will be on their shoulders very soon because there's
yeah.
some super talented young ladies running around in the SANFL. And then again, another great year, another great progression of it. As sad and bittersweet as this point is in the season with no more AF with SANFL to listen to, I know that getting ready that I'm looking at Layla Ebert at Melbourne. Um,
Mm.
Emma Kilpatrick is gone up. Christina Luzzi
Well,
has gone up. You're
yeah.
seeing the young superstars at Port Adelaide that did wear sample jerseys. Piper Windle, Lauren Young, Molly Brooksby. So many of these fantastic young South Australians. India Rashid. I don't want to leave the double blue superstar out myself. Cannot wait. It is so exciting to see such a great competition, a fantastic season. Didn't go Darce's way, didn't go Narelle Smith's way, but again, I think it's fantastic what this competition gave us this year. So that is it for all of the games that have played. We'll jump to the burning questions. We'll start on the men's side since we're only reviewing a few rounds. Gentlemen, Phil, we'll start with you. Sturt are still unbeaten. Do you think that the Double Blues can get through the entire season unbeaten?
You can only go off of evidence base, and the evidence is that they're taking all before them. And I'm doing my preparation. I'm commentating their game against South Adelaide on Saturday with Tim Sewell, and um, looking at the riches of quality they've got. They've got four or five guys that are first starters coming back from injury, and their reserves are probably good enough to beat a West Adelaide's league side, with all due respect. So an embarrassment of riches for Marty Matner. You think inevitably the numbers are going to say they're going to drop one. Is it going to be this week against South Adelaide? Stranger things have happened.
Mhm.
I might buy a lotto ticket and hope that that also goes my way as well. But I think there's a chance it'll happen, but it's going to be unlikely. And I think they'll continue on their merry way for the rest of the year. Who knows what happens in finals? Because they did drop the ball in finals last year and went out in straight sets.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Darce, what do you think? Can they go
No, I
unbeaten?
think they'll go undefeated. That's my opinion. I think they're just, they still beat the LA. I know that they were the nervous one that I thought was against Nord when they were
Mm.
actually
Mhm.
losing to Nord with into time on, and then Nord kicked 3 goals to win the game. So that was probably the only one they got a bit worried or scared then. So they may have just taken that game as a loss and said, look, we need to, we're not out of this. We could lose games. We've got to watch ourselves. So I think that game could have put a bit of a spark in them to sort of improve, which they've done, and they've just beating sides by massive margins. It's just incredible what they've done this year.
All right. And then the second question I have for this, we'll go through it. There's only 4 rounds left in the men's home and away season. How many teams, right around that cut line at 5, 6, and past, how many teams are still fighting, and how many teams can we put a line through? Darce?
Yeah, it's very ugly for me at the moment, unfortunately, with Eagles being depleted so badly, and we've got Glenelg this week. No, Nord have got the Crows, so that's going to be a tough game for them. But then, unfortunately, Eagles got Sturt the following week, so we've got 2 tough weeks coming up, and I think Nord are playing North the week after, so they've got. You'd think they may win that, and look, Port Adelaide, they're playing Westies this week, so gee whiz, guys, I just praying that Woodville can pull something out somewhere to stay there. But I think we've got a couple of next hard games, and Nord have got some. Well, you don't like to say any game's easy, but certainly you've got South and West and North for Port and Nord in the games coming up. So I'm hoping they don't, but I think Nord may slip in. And please, if Source, if you're watching this, I don't say that. I just think it's just going to be a tough game for us to stay there, but I hope they do.
All right, Phil, your thoughts on this? We got 5 spots in the finals. Is it up to 8 teams still vying for it, or is it down to 7?
I think it's down to 7, but I
Yeah.
almost wish we were having this discussion after the weekend because Westies are a massive chance to upset Port Adelaide. And based on the AFL injuries and rotations Port have got, and I think Port Adelaide are still a faint chance. They've got a pretty poor percentage, which won't help them. But on the flip side, the Eagles have got a terrible percentage. And as Das alluded
Mm.
to, the Norwood Footy Club are breathing down their necks. So with a great percentage as well, as good as the others in the
Yeah.
top 5. So I think I'm going to say there's going to be 7, Port Adelaide with maybe just a faint hope. But I genuinely think that with their run home, with the quality that they've got, Norwood will probably replace the Eagles in the 5. And I apologise in advance to Darson Source if you're listening.
No,
Nah, it, it
yeah.
it'll definitely be interesting. Yeah, I really wish North Adelaide was probably there, but I think I agree with you. Probably 7 and probably even 6 if with Port
Yeah.
Adelaide's situation where they're going because their percentage is significantly below Norwood's when it comes to it. And Norwood is on a runner for sure. So instead of doing burning questions for the women's, we're going to do it just a real quick season review really quickly. I know, like I said, Phil's got some studying to do, so we're trying to get through this as quickly as possible. So let's go to it. Best and fairest this year was Zoe Venning of the West Adelaide Bloods. Have to say this is a little bit of a surprise to me, but again, Zoe with an incredible season this far, so a very deserving winner. Darcy, your thoughts on Zoe Venning getting the best and fairest for the competition this year?
Yeah, obviously, I only saw the probably the. I think we played them twice, and look, she played okay. She was good. I didn't think she stood out the two games that we played them, so I can't really make any opinion there. But you probably see more of it during watching a lot of the girls' games. But yeah, she was good, and I think yeah, she had a bit of ability. But look, the other games, I'm not sure how she went, but obviously the umpires thought differently and yeah, gave the points.
Hmm. Phil?
I think it was an example of she was an absolute standout in an average team, and all due respect to Bruce Dawes and the West Adelaide girls. They only won the 5 games for the year, but I think from memory she got something like 6 or 7 first preference votes and a lot of runner-up votes as well. So she was gonna in the games that they won, she was clearly best on ground. In the games that
Yeah,
they lost, she still had her 30 touches, 5 clearances, so she's getting a lot of two votes. And in the end, it was a two vote that in the last minor round game she overtook Soraya Moon by the one vote. And for those that don't know, it's a great article in the Advertiser, the local paper here. She's partners with the absolute ball magnet from West Adelaide, Kobe Ryan. So the two of them combined are dominant footballers, and I think she was a fitting winner. I think probably an example with South Adelaide and Jess Bates finishing third with Glenelg. You know, the better teams were sharing the votes around a little bit. South had a few girls take
Hmm.
votes from each other, and so did the Eagles. They spread it
yeah,
out.
Eagles definitely did.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
will say Claudia O'Neill kicked 6 goals in a game in a winning game and didn't get a vote. So
It's
yeah.
what the umpires
the
see, I
best
don't
and
know.
fairest is such a midfield. It is a
What are you
midfielder's vote because
saying?
that's the way it is, and it's the same argument with the AFL and AFLW ones. But the only thing I find fascinating is with AFLW, Jazz Garner's one of the best ball winners in the competition and can't get a vote to save her life.
Yeah, I
So, but
exactly.
Andrew
it really
McLeod had 38 touches in a game and could have won the Brownlow and didn't get a vote.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
38
that's right.
touches.
it's one of those
Yeah.
again. It's such a fascinating difference with the voting coming from the umpires because it's just nothing we see over here in the States. So this is not the Americans telling the Aussies how to do stuff, but it's just so odd. It's just so odd for me. Like I just don't know if the umpires are the greatest orators of who's playing the best because there are games I've seen in the AFL. I've seen in so many of these competitions where it's like that person got 3 votes. And I know there was one year Jason Horn Francis got 3 votes and had 13 disposals in the entire game. So it
Mhm.
just kind of shows you Zoe was a she was a deserving winner. Again, I thought it was fascinating
Yeah,
that Jess Bates with Glenelg with the unfortunately the way their season went is she still finished I think third. What was it? It was
Good. Yeah.
incredible to see that she still draws votes. That's one of those. And again, congratulations to her on an incredible career. We'll miss watching her play footy, but it was incredible watching it. Now, Zoe is an incredible player. I thought she played fantastic on a team that just unfortunately didn't have the success I think they probably
Mm.
deserved. And I agree. Sometimes when you have really good multiple superstars on a team, you take votes away.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
Marcus Bontempelli will ever win an AFL Brownlow because he's got Trelaw, he's got Libba, he's got Sam Darcy, he's got a lot of superstars around him. They're gonna draw votes from him. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's kind of the way it goes in those teams. I never like doing this, but it's the one question I will ask that's negative. Phil, we'll start with you. What was your biggest disappointment this year at the SANFL W level?
I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this. And you touched on Jess Bates a moment ago, and it's going to be Glenelg based, but it's going to be us based. Our preseason predictions. We had Glenelg winning the flag, gentlemen. That's the biggest
I know.
disappointment of the
Mea
year.
culpa. Mea culpa. I
I
said
think
it
all three
after
of us
week
said Glenelg
one,
to win the flag.
the first one. Yep. I will gladly
But the
raise
Tigers
my
did
hand
have a
on that
very
one.
disappointing year. They had some good
Yep.
players. They were probably the more
Yep.
disappointing side. Just couldn't get their season going. Lost games that they were in winning positions and really struggled in the first year under Talia Radan.
Yep. Yep. Darcy, your thoughts and biggest
no, it has,
disappointment?
yeah, we did pick a nil because I think I wrote it down somewhere. I kept watching that and going, yeah, well, gee, we were pretty poor at that. So just Glenelg, yeah, they'll be disappointed as well, no doubt. And well, Nord, I mean, they were the first. They won the premiership, the first to win the premiership, and now they're languishing. But do you guys know that every team now has played in the grand final?
Yep.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't
Yep.
it?
Yeah,
This the
Yeah.
that's
seven
I mean, that's
broadcast brought that
incredible.
up. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Someone told me that the other day. I said no. He goes, yeah, every team.
Yep.
I looked at it, said we mate, they have two. And how good's that competition? And if there's a good point to come in
Yep.
Yeah.
8 years it's been in, 8, 10 years it's been in.
Yep.
It's just every club now has played in a grand final.
Yep.
Outstanding.
In the
Yep.
last 3 years, you've had two debutantes with Central Districts and Woodville West Torrance both getting their first in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go even further. I'm gonna hang some shit on myself and go. The biggest disappointment is my tipping for the grand final because I had Norwood and Glenelg and they were the two of the bottom three. So I will save myself on that one. I mea culpa in our first podcast when both Norwood and Glenelg were the bottom two sides at the time. I will say this. I'm not going to say disappointment with Glenelg because new coaching staff. They did have several players leave the squad both through draft and different things like that. And Norwood, it just sounds like this year was just a little bit of everything, a combination of injury, Brad Farrell stepping away from the club due to mental health reasons. And again, I'm keeping track of him. He's on the mend. He's doing much better now. And now Ali did a fantastic job with the team through the rest of the year. Again, I'll be fascinated to see how or what who is the new head coach at Norwood. Does Ali get the promotion or do they look in a different direction? Be fascinated. But I'll hang shit on myself. Biggest disappointment. Coach is tipping this year for the SANFL W. I'll say this, but the one thing I jumped the shark 1 year on Woodville West Torrance. I'm not doing it. I didn't do. I said they'd make finals this year. They did. So I will kudos myself in the opposite. All right, we'll go the other way. Biggest surprise. What was one thing that surprised you this year for this season? Darce, we'll start with you.
Oh, gee whiz, that's a good question, Coach. See, everyone would probably say Woody West Torrens coming from seventh spot last year to top, but it didn't surprise me if that makes sense because I knew
Yeah.
that they changed a lot of the culture around there. They changed a lot of things, and the real was ready. The players were ready. I think a lot of people have said that, but I knew no, they're going to do something special this year, and they had. So that's I can't pick anything down. The good thing was Woody West Torrens. That was just amazing what they did from last year.
All right, Phil.
Probably because it's a bit fresh and not raw, but recent. I really wasn't expecting to see Jess Bates retire. You touched on her a moment ago, and I thought she'd still, she's a dominant player at this level, and she wants to head in a different direction. I think she's going to be getting involved in some coaching, and I can give you an exclusive. We've recruited her to the Wharf Radio team, so she's going to be joining us to cover some AFLW games. She would have done the
Yep.
SANFLW Grand Final, but we didn't end up getting the permission from the SANFL to do that, but. Yeah, Jess Bates, a dominant player over the season, a wonderful human being, and doing some great work in mentoring and coaching. And yeah, surprised to see her hang up the boots, but moving on, showing that life's not all about playing. She's still staying involved in the game in a big way, and we're looking forward to having her on Wharf Radio as well.
Yeah, well, keep an
Yeah.
eye out.
Awesome.
I've been silently trying to recruit her for the podcast to do it. Unfortunately, I think she's just busy enough with uni and stuff like that. But Jess is an absolute magnificent human being. Absolutely love her to death. 100% with you. It's going to be sad not seeing her out there. She's an absolute legend. But again, you want to go on with your life, and I completely understand it. My biggest surprise was just the rocket that Woodville West Torrance had because
Mm.
I had a good feeling that they could make finals this year because of how well they performed, even despite losses the season before. I was not expecting them to go top of the tree, only have two losses on the season. Really, they pushed South Adelaide to be better. If I'm Rick
Mm.
Watts, I'm almost walking over to the coach's box over at Norrell Smith and shaking her hand because I think Woodville West Torrance made South Adelaide better this year.
Mm.
It's
Great.
scary to
Yeah.
think, but if I'm Rick Watts, I'm thanking Norrell because this could have been a year if Woodville West Torrance didn't do what they did. This could have been a runaway for South Adelaide this entire season. They were one of the best teams all year. You had a couple of teams that had been in the running with Norwood and Glenelg having subpar years, and Woodville West Torrance goes, "We'll take that spot," and they did, and it was fantastic. So I it was so awesome to see the joy when I interacted with Narelle each week. She was just absolutely up and about, but she
Yeah.
was business and seeing Claudia O'Neill step up, some of these youngsters on this team again, she has built herself a list that's going to be fantastic to watch. You saw an incredible season. Annie Falkenberg, again, one of the best captains in the entire competition. Absolutely love Annie to
Yeah.
death. She was incredible this year. Seeing the emergence of Christina Luzzi and now seeing her get her job and get her spot now with the Crows was incredible. I cannot wait to watch this Woodville West Torrance side next year because who knows what they can do. Again, Rick Watts is probably going, I need to step up my game because if not, Woodville West Torrance could take that mantle. It's gonna be fun to watch. So that's my biggest surprise. We'll go to it. Phil, we'll start with you. Game of the year in the SANFL W.
Yeah, that final between the Eagles, not the grand final,
Yeah,
but the final between the Eagles and
The
South
qualifying
Adelaide, one of the
final.
yeah.
Yep.
highest quality games, highest intensity. It was a no-brainer that that was the game of the year. There were some pretty good minor round games throughout the course of the season, and I know Central's gone on a bit of a late run with some quality football
Yep.
towards the back end. Ben Hunt spoke to him post-season, and he said, we just had some of those what-if moments, but wowza, that second semi-final,
Hmm.
I think that's going to go down in folklore in the SANFL W circles.
Yep. 100%. Darce, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going to go with this,
Yeah,
but
I think I
Darce,
mentioned
game of the
during the
year.
program. I think it was that one without
Yep.
doubt. It was just not that one kick that got us over the line. It was the whole game. It was just a very
Pressure.
tough, intense, pressured
Mm,
game. It was
mm.
close all day, and I think what topped off was that goal. There's no doubt the whole game was a great game, but that one just topped it off, mate. You can't get any better than this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will make it 3 for 3 because and maybe it's the recency bias. Usually I go through the year and I try to find those after the siren games or those games that you can't not want to watch again because they were so incredible. I can't go past it because
Mm.
Claudio Neal slots that goal again against the wind, as we said. It was a scintillating game. I really wish it could have been in the grand final instead of the
Yeah.
qualifying final because then it would have been perfect. A little bit like Central Districts when they won the grand final with a goal late. Like you love seeing grand final games coming down to the last kick. It's always
Yeah.
fantastic, but you just can't go past it. Again, Rick Watts' teams gave the challenge of a lifetime to Woodville West Torrens, and they found a way to get it done. Incredible game of football. It's going to be one I will try. I'm probably at least going to go back and watch it at least one more time over the summer because over the winter for me, summer for you guys, because it's just such a good game of football. I just can't not watch it again. So I want you to take out your crystal ball, fellas, really quickly. What are you looking forward to next season? Darce, I know we'll probably have a Woodville West Torrens spice to this. What are you looking forward to next year?
I'm even going to take the hat off here. I think just watching Woodville West Torrens grow from that grand final loss, I think that's number one. I think that there'll be fire in the belly. I won't mention her name. She sort of was going to retire. I don't think that's going to happen now. She's just some unfinished business. So I won't say who it is in case she doesn't want me
Exclusive,
saying it, but
exclusive.
you can see already there's unfinished business, if that makes sense. I think this is going to make them so much better. And we'll see what happens to South Adelaide. I think it'll be two great teams again. I hope the other teams come up as well, but I think it's going to be two great teams next year. Just, will South go three in a row? I think it's going to be another, what if? Is this going to happen? So,
Yep. Bill, what are you looking forward to next season in the W competition?
I think some changes, some new faces. Already, I can see four clubs are going to have new head coaches, so that's half the
yeah, it
competition.
is.
So,
Hmm.
North Adelaide are advertising for their job. Whether Kelly Baltrop applies and gets it again, we spoke earlier. Michael O'Connor's moving on. Ben Hunt, we don't know what's happening with Ben out at Centrals. I assume he'll probably go on again. West Adelaide have parted ways with Bruce Dawes, and we know, obviously, as Donny alluded to before, Nord will have a new face. It might be a Ferrell, it might be Ali, but it might be someone else as well. So looking forward to some new faces and new in terms of how the development league is going to change to an under 18s competition. I'm still a
Yep.
skeptic in regards to what that means for, I guess,
Yeah.
mature age players, and they don't have the
Yep.
pathway specifically through SANFL. It'll be an under 18s up to league footy. So I'll be interested to see how the league transitions to that. But in general, looking forward to seeing some new faces and hopefully and quietly that the Eagles and South continue to play some fantastic footy.
Yep, 100%. And for me, the thing I look forward to next year is seeing what young superstars are going to take the places of some of the retiring legends. The two at Glenelg, as we said already, with Jess Bass, and then Sam Franzen also retiring
Yeah.
at the
Yep.
Bays. We'll have to see
Yeah.
what youngsters are coming up there. The youngsters that are coming up at Norwood, some youngsters there. The youngsters at Woodville West Torrance that we've been bragging up. Again, Rick Watts in South Adelaide always have some teenagers that are always stepping up. I look forward every year to seeing these new names that potentially could be talked about in December's AFLW draft. And it's always fun because this competition just continues to produce superstar talent. I know for some South Australians, it's a little disappointing now that the AFLW is a national draft. So sometimes these South Australian girls are grabbed and taken away from Adelaide a little bit. But the best part is it brings better competition, better quality to sides that really need that quality player. So as per usual, I always look forward to the growth of the competition. Cannot wait. I think Norwood's going to be
Yeah.
fascinating. I really hope Allie gets the job. I think she'd be fantastic to keep it in family, and I think the girls already know her really well. So I think that would be a great hire for Norwood. But again, there's a little bit of biasy there. I will raise my hand on that one because of my friendship with Allie. So that's why I will say that. But it's going to be so much fun. And again, congratulations to Rick Watts in South Adelaide, another fantastic premiership one. And again, to Narelle, I know she's already getting ready for next season. She cannot wait to get
Yeah.
going because they're going to be motivated. Cannot wait. So, fellas, we will end this really quickly. Round 16 for the men. We still have the men to go through. Sorry, men, we weren't trying to disrespect you, but we had a final to talk about. Okay. So, round 16, we'll do it really, really quickly because we want to let Phil have some time here. Start off Norwood v Adelaide at Norwood Oval. We'll start with you, Darce. Who do you like? Crows, Redlegs?
Look, I like the Crows, but gee whiz, Nord are coming on strong this last half of the season. They mate, the way they built at Eagles and the way they've won a few other games, I think this is going to be to me the match of the round because Redlegs need this win to get into the five, whether it be this week or the week after. They definitely need this win because then I think they've got like West Adelaide the week after. So win this one, then potentially win against West Adelaide. They could be looking at sneaking in the five.
All right, Phil, who do you like?
I concur with Das. I think this is probably game of the round, and I think the Crows SANFL depth might be tested just a little bit this week because they've made three changes at AFL level Adelaide. So that
Mm.
means three top-up players are coming in, and we know Norwood are on the rampage to hold on to their chances of playing in the major rounds. So I really feel this is probably a toss of the coin game. Could go either way. I've seen the Crows a bit live in the last few weeks, so I might just lean towards them because I think they still have some quality at SANFL level.
Yeah.
Yep. Gonna tip the Crows, tip the Crows and me, but being at Norwood Oval definitely will help the legs in this one. Cracker, hopefully. I agree with you, fellas. I think this could be game of the round, but gonna tip the tricolors on this one. Next convenience oval is the Doggies hosts the Roosters. We'll start off with the Doggies man himself, Central Districts at North Adelaide. Who do you like?
Well, Doggies fans might not like where I'm going with this one, but I just have this funny feeling that a bit of an upset might be on the cards. North Adelaide have got some good players coming back in, but they've got a pretty important reason to play, and that's their captain, Alex Spina. He's been a wonderful servant of the North Adelaide Football Club. He wears the famous number 10, of course, in honour of the great Barry Robin, who's no longer with us. And what a tragedy that was to lose Barry a couple of weeks ago. But I think North Adelaide might just pull a bit of an upset here and get over the Dogs in a low-scoring arm wrestle.
All right, Darcy, your thoughts, Doggies, Roosters.
Gee, that's a big call, Phil. Nice one. I like it. I like it. Gee, I was I thought your Bulldogs through and through, but I'm still going to go for the Bulldogs. I think they're just playing okay. The Roosters, look, they have come off the nose a bit, but oh look, if
Mm.
they're playing for something and a few players back, there could be a great game. I'm still going to go for Centrals.
And just on the
Doggy,
Bulldogs, they'll have Harry Grant come back from that 5 week suspension, tackling young Herbert from the Eagles. And they're going to make a debutant play his first game, a famous name out at Elizabeth, young Dougie Cochran. He's just 17 years of age. He's the son of Stuart. I know the Cochran family really well. There'll be four generations of league footballers, and there'll be a bit of excitement with young Dougie. He's a
Oh,
very
nice.
talented player, touted as probably the number one draft pick in season 2026. He's a
I've heard the name
superstar on the
already. Yeah.
rise, and I wish him
Mm.
and the family well because it'll be a special day out at Elizabeth for the Cochrane family.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm gonna tip the Duggies in this one, but I'm kind of feeling that too. Like with the struggles and then some extra motivation for the Roosters, who knows? But gonna tip the Duggies in this one. That could be a good one. Out to Thomas Farms Oval, Sturt take on South Adelaide. Can Sturt keep the undefeated streak going, Darce?
Without doubt with this game. I think look if Sturt are in full swing and full all cylinders a go, I think they could win by 100 points again. They've done it quite a few times this year. I think they could do it again this week
All
if
right.
all goes to if everything's all systems a go.
All right. Can Sturt keep the O in the L column there, Phil?
Oh, look, you'd think so. Common sense would say yes, they will. I'm looking forward to calling this game. It's the first time I've seen Sturt live all year, and the first time I'm calling from Unley. So that ticks off every ground I've commentated at this year, which I always like to do. And I think this is going to go one of two ways. Das touched on it there. Sturt are either going to win by 100 points, or South might show some fight. You wouldn't have thought they would have
Mm.
got close to the Glenelg Footy Club a couple of weeks ago. Maybe if there's ever going to be a game that someone might drop, the Double Blues might just rest on their laurels a little bit. But again, common sense, Sturt should win this one pretty easily.
Yeah. Sturt should win it, but who knows? South Adelaide could pull one out of the hat sometimes. Sometimes when you have an undefeated season, that you have that chance for a lapse. So, gonna tip
Mm.
Sturt, but hoping South Adelaide give them a little bit of a test. Off to Hisense Stadium as the West Adelaide Bloods take on the Port Adelaide Magpies in this one. Phil, we'll start with you. Bloods, Pies. Who do you like?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game because I think the chances of West Adelaide winning are pretty good, based on a lot of outs at AFL level for Port Adelaide
Yeah.
Power, and
Yeah.
the Magpies will still have the likes of Willie Rioli playing and Jeremy Finlayson, but I've seen Westies a little bit in recent times. They had the big win against the Eagles, which would have given them great confidence. They're still playing obviously under interim coach Sam Elliott after Adam Hartlett pulled the pin due to mental health reasons. So. I'm going to just go with the Bloods on this one, being that it's at home and the unknown of Port Adelaide with any late changes for the Power as well.
All right, Darcy.
Again, Port, if they do win this week, they could slip into the five if Eagles lose, and obviously Norwood lose as well. So they could slip into the five. So that's the only reason why I think, well, see, if these players are keen on playing in finals, they have to give everything they can to slip into the five. So look, I'm going to go for Port only for that reason that these kids are going to say, look, we want to play finals. Not just a reserves AFL side. We want to really show that we can do something, and I'm going for Port
Yeah,
in
it's gonna
a good game.
I'll be the tiebreaker here on this one. I'll be blunt on this one. Port Adelaide's AFL side was absolute trash against Adelaide. I
Yeah,
think I think there could be some change up, and I think it's going to affect them. So I'm going to go with Phil on this one. I think the
yeah.
Bloods have a chance at Hisense Stadium to pull off a win here, which unfortunately may end the Maggies' opportunities to make finals. So out at Woodville West Torrens, we see the Eagles host the Tigers. Felt I'm one of these days I'm going to get the name of the stadium correct, but I'm not going to try to butcher. I'm not going to try to butcher it right now. So Louisville West Torrens Eagles. Darce is the Eagles man that you are. Can they pull the upset, or are the Tigers just too strong?
It's at Morn Team Kia Oval. So
Morn team.
Morn
Okay,
Team Kia. Yeah, they're our major sponsor. I'm giving a bit of a
Morn.
blast here at the
Okay.
moment. So no, all good, all good. So oh, geez, I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately, it's not going to be our day it's on Sunday. So no, definitely not our day. But look, I hope there was these young kids, if they're serious about their football, they're 18 years old, they want to play AFL footy. This is an opportunity for them to really to step up and do the 1% things. To really show that hey, I'm a young kid, I want to play AFL footy. It's been my dream, and here I am getting a shot at SANFL level, and I'm going to just give it everything I can. So just hope these kids do something that just gives at least show a bit of fight, if that makes sense. So I just want to see a lot of fight from them this week.
Yep. Phil.
Yeah, it pains me to say from for Darcy's point of view, but I think it's going to be a big win for the Tigers. I was almost going to say, 100 points again, but the Eagles have had enough of those losses
Yeah,
in recent times. So, yeah, as Darcy alluded to, opportunities, you've got to look at the positives. And at the end of the day, it's not like the Eagles are sitting in second or third bottom position. They're still actually inside the five.
yeah.
So, they've probably, I think Darcy, unfortunately, one night at training, Sauce must have kicked the black cat, ran over a ladder, went under the ladder,
Oh,
smashed the
yeah,
glass because you've been unlucky, and sometimes you're going to get
yeah,
really lucky with injuries and not have them, and other times you're going to get decimated, and it's done it unfortunately to senior players across your squad. So we know the class of Glenelg, we know the class of Darren Reeves. There's whispers that he's heading off to bigger things at AFL level with Port Adelaide as an assistant next year. But I think Darren's got the Tigers pairing, and I think they'll win pretty comfortably.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you fellas on this one. I think the Tigers get the win. I hope for Sauce's sake that they have a challenge by the Eagles, but unfortunately, I think the Tigers just too much class and quality in that side. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is all games round for 16 tipped. Again, the women's season, we have tied it up with a nice little bow and send it off to sit under the Christmas tree for next season. So it's been fantastic. Darce, Phil, as always, it is fantastic to talk Sandful and Sandful W footy with you fellas. Darce, again, next time you get a chance, give some of those Eagles girls a hug for me because I know that was a tough one. But again,
Yeah,
I thanked Norel personally on when I am our messenger saying thank you for an incredible season. You did a
yeah,
fantastic job,
100%.
and like I said, she's already up and about for already next year. I think I cannot wait for it. But again, always fantastic to talk with you, Darce.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And thank you again, guys. And see you in a few weeks, though.
Yep, yep.
Finish the men's.
We will
So
preview the Sandful men's finals in
absolutely.
4 weeks after round 19. I cannot wait. It should be a scintillating finals on that. And Phil, great luck with your call in the state and the state under 18s.
Absolutely.
Again, you get a chance to see one of the best girls in the country. Sam
Yep.
Usher, I think is her name. Cannot wait to watch that. Best of luck with the call. I'd love to hear it because I think it'd be fantastic as per usual with your calls.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to talk. That one's on the AFL website from midday Adelaide time, so 12 p.m. on Sunday, live from Prospect, SA versus Queensland. But yeah, great to always talk SANFL footy. Well done to Rick Watts. Shout out to him, a wonderful player, a wonderful coach, rather, a wonderful person. And yeah, look forward to talking to you guys on the eve of men's finals.
And not wait, be about another month when, like I said, and we'll go hop on. The next show should be after round 19, and we will preview the men's finals and get ready for a scintillating finals series. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode of Sample Snapshot on the Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what you are listening to and you want some footy content, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.